Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Deborah, and here I am standing outside my new motorhome. This picture is looking from the cab side into the lovely kitchen. The bathroom's across the back. Then we've got a really big fridge and some storage for clothing and kitchen gear. I like that it has a really big bench. I don't like the round sink, but I do like the tap. This is looking at the two couches on either side with a big table for crafting in the centre. And here's that same view, but this time the beds come out of the ceiling and that's where we'll be sleeping. And then a final look into the bathroom with a full shower. And we pick it up in 4 weeks. I've got to get a few things fitted first, and no doubt you'll be seeing more of our motorhome as we go travelling in it. Now on with the crafting. And today I'm going to be doing some pockets so that I have multiple pockets on a page, and I'm going to show you a couple of ideas that I have on how to do that. I'm using some Tim Holtz memoranda paper. I like this because it's multi-directional, so it doesn't matter if I turn it or flip it, it will still look different wherever I look at it. So I'm going to put it in my cutter, and I'm going to start by putting it to the 5-inch mark here, and I'm going to cut up to the 7-inch mark or thereabouts. Now I don't have a complete measurement on this cutter, but I can get it roughly where I need it. Then I'm turning it at 90 degrees and I'm going to put it at that 5-inch mark again, and this time cut up to the 7. So basically I'm cutting 4 pieces that are going to be 5 inches by 7 inches with very little wastage. So back in the cutter at the 5-inch mark, so I've turned it again, cut up to roughly where the 7 inches is. Now that bit's come off, that's fine. And then take it out and flip it again and put it in at the 5-inch mark again and cut up to the 7 again. So hopefully that's going to mean that this bit's come off, and I think I've just got one little more cut to do. All right, so I'm just going to grab my scissors and slightly cut this bit out here. Your cutter might be better. You might be able to cut each of your sections really accurately, but it's rough enough. You know, I've got it. So this is the little bit that's left over. I'm not going to throw that away. That's a nice little square, and I'll put it into my scrap box. So this is the first idea that I have. I'm now going to take this piece here, and I'm going to take my ruler. Now I could tell you that it needs to be at a certain angle. I'm just going to trim that little bit off because it's just annoying me, that little bit there. Just overlap that cut a little bit. And rather than talking about angles, I'm going to talk about measurements. I think that's much easier. So I'm going to measure up 1.5 inches from the bottom and make a mark. And then on this side, I'm going to measure up 2.5 inches from the bottom and make a mark. Then I'm going to put that back into my cutter so that I can see where I've made that mark here and the other one's here. So I'm going to line up the edge of my green plastic thing because that's where my cut goes. And I'm going to put the mark there and tip it over so that both of those marks are showing on the edge. So I've got about there, one's here and one's here. Move that over a little bit more and then cut. Now what that does is it gives me an angled cut like this. Now if I flip that over, I can make that into a little pocket, but I want to make more than one pocket on the page. So the first 2 measurements were 1.5 and 2.5. With the next measurement, I'm going to come up 2.5 inches on one side and make a mark, and then I'm going to come 3.5 on the other side. So basically a 1-inch difference. But you can play around with this and just get some scrap paper and cut things at different places depending on the angle that you want. Once again, I'm putting it into my cutter. There's a mark there and then there's a mark there, so that looks pretty good, and cut it. Now I'm sort of making them so that there's a 1-inch difference between the 2 pieces on the one side versus the other. So that way I know that my angles will all be the same. So if I put those all together like this and put them like that, you can see that they all line up, and on the bottom they should all be straight. And I'll just find that last one. There it is there. So I don't know if you can see that because of the difference in colour isn't great, but those angles should be straight. Now if that doesn't bother you, you don't have to worry about doing that, but it bothers me, so that's why I take the time to do it. And then I'm going to turn them. So I'm just going to turn them over and see what sort of things are on the other side. So I've got one there, and I want the angles to go up like this. So if I put this one here and this one here, I get a nice angle on that. And then if I put the next one so it's here, and then the final one underneath, and you can see there, it's probably a tiny bit hard to tell. You should be picking that up, but I've now, if I stuck those down, I've now got a pocket in there, a pocket in there, a pocket in there, and a pocket in there. And then if I put all that on a page, like this one here, I'll have 4 pockets in that. You see how that would work out? So that's one of the pocket ideas that I've got, is to make those. Now, if you want these to stand out more, then inking along these edges would be the thing to do, and of course decorating it up as well. I'm not doing that today, I'm just showing you the idea of how to cut those papers. So I'll put that to one side, and I've still got 2 other pieces here that I could use. So I'm going to start with that one, and I'm going to probably put it up this way, I think, yeah. And then I'm going to cut this one down. So this one is 7 by 5. I want to cut it down into a couple of smaller pockets that I can lay on top. So I'll probably cut it at the 3-inch mark. So I have one that is 5 by 3. That might be a tiny bit small actually by the time I get the thing on. Actually, I'm going to cut it at the 3.5-inch mark. So I'm basically cutting this piece in half completely. So we'll do that. Then I'm going to bring in my scoreboard, and I'm going to score these around the edges. Now the reason that I'm scoring them around the edges is so that I can create a deeper pocket with them. So I'm going to have this one, this pocket's going to go up this way like this with the pocket there. So my first step would be to measure into the center and put a notch in it. I'm going to do this before I do the scoring, so that will be at the 2.5-inch mark. And then I'm going to put my notch in, because you know that I like a notch. Completely optional depending on what you want to do. And then let's score at the 1/2-inch mark all around. And of course this step is also optional depending on your personal preference. Cut my angles out so that I can fold up the flaps to create my pocket. Just get that in there. And also I'm going to chop at the top. I like to do that so that I get a nice finish on my pocket. So this will be one pocket. Going to be my first pocket. Now I want to have a look at that on the page before I work out how I'm going to score my next pockets. So if I take these now and I put one of them here, for example, I could put one down the bottom here like this, and then I might put one up this way like this. That looks okay. I could even turn that one around actually, although there's a bit too much yellow there, so I'm not sure that I'm going to. I'm going to put that one up there like that. Okay, so this one is going to be, first of all, let's mark the notch on here. A bit noisy, sorry about that. That'll be at the 1 3/4 inch mark. And then scoring it 1/2 inch on the other 3 sides. Now the reason why I'm doing one of these in a sort of horizontal way and one in a vertical way is just to get the difference, because these 2 pieces, if you remember, are the same size. So by doing this I get 2 different size pockets they'll look different, but it's the one piece of paper, which means that you maximise how much you're getting out of your piece of 12 by 12. And we've got this one here, we'll go like that, and then this one will be across the other way. So that'll be 5 inches, so we're going to notch it at the 2.5 inches. And I could measure my notches exactly so that they're all the same depth, but I just eyeball that. You know, I'm pretty good now at doing that and getting them in a similar place, but if you want to, of course, go ahead and measure where they're going. Just a 1/2 inch and all the way around. I find a 1/2 inch is good. To me, that kind of works. You might like a bigger piece to fold over or a smaller piece, and again, that's personal preference and you can do what you like. So let's just cut those miters off the corner, and then I can fold this up. And now we can put those down. So I will put these down because you'll get the effect. You'll be able to see it a lot easier if I put them down. I can't find where my other glue's gone, so I'm going to use a new tub of glue, a new bottle of glue. So it's probably going to run out fairly quickly because it's super new and it's, of course, super runny therefore. Okay, there we go. So this is one of my pages. My page is a piece of 12 by 12 that I've cut down to 8 inches high and then scored and folded in half, so I get a 6 by 8 sized page. I like this size page. I think it's a good size for me to work in. Now I just have to work out where my others are going, and I was thinking before I put one down here and then I put one kind of here off the side. I think that's quite good. So that's where I'll put them. So again, some glue, and you don't have to score and turn your edges like I have. If you just want a fairly flat pocket, don't worry about doing that. I'm just doing it because I like the look. I think it's more finished than just sticking it down on the page. And that one's going kind of there, just up from the bottom a little bit. And I find lately I've been using my scoring tool just to burnish that on, and it makes the glue really adhere, I think. I don't know why, I've just got this new thing of doing it like this. And then this one will go down the bottom like this. Now these pages are very similar, these pockets, they're all made from the same piece of paper. So I'm not getting high contrast between this one and this one. I still think it's enough though. You can still see that there are multiple pockets on the page there. And of course, when I get something to put in them, if I could find something, I would just pop that in there and show you. Let's grab one of our pieces from before. So this is also the same paper, but you can see that when you get something in there, it's going to, you're not going to see these two together. Put that in again. You can see that that's fine. You're not going to pick up those two pieces together. And of course, you might put a completely different contrasting piece in there. I've taken another piece of paper and I've cut it into the same. I've got 4 lots of 7 inch by 5 inches, and I'm still going to do some multi pockets with this. So I'm going to start with one of the pieces and I'm going to take it and I'm going to chop it off. So I'm just looking at, if I've got 7 inches, if I cut it at the 2.5 inch mark, I still think that's big enough for a pocket. So I'm going to cut one at the 2.5 inch mark, and what that leaves me is 4.5 inches left. And then I'm going to take the 4.5 inch piece, and I think I'm going to cut it at the, maybe I'll go 2.5 inches again, I think. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to cut it at 2.5 and 2.5. And that gives me 2 pieces that are 2.5 and one piece that is 2 inches. And then I'm going to repeat that again with another piece of the paper. So I'm just going to cut it again at the 2.5 and 2.5, and then I'll have the little bit left over. Let's just make sure this is nice and straight. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut my notches out. So I know that these are 5 inches wide, so I'm going to make sure that I measure and cut that in the center. Because I'm going to stack these vertically, they need to have the notch at the same place. Well, for me they need to. For you, it's your choice. So I'm going to start by putting a notch in here, which is kind of in the center. And then I'm going to take the others one by one. This is the same size. In fact, I'm going to turn that over so I've got some contrast and I can see what I'm doing. Pop my cutter, my circle cutter in again. Now, each time I'm going to switch the papers. If I keep using the same piece is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And hopefully these will stay somewhat the same size because I'm doing that, or at least in the same place. Now for the smaller pieces, you just need to match one side up. Let's get this one. Because I want this to pop, I'm going to ink the edge, because by inking the edge, you're going to see really clearly where that notch is. If I don't ink that edge, in fact I'll ink all around, if I don't ink them, you're not going to see that notch as clearly as what I want it to pop out. So I'm just working out which side I want these on, of course, at the same time. I think I'll do this one up this way. And yes, some of the words will be upside down, but that's the beauty of this paper. It is multi-directional, and so it blends in really well. Here is my page. I'm going to start by laying these down so that they are straight. Now, it looks like it's not straight because that's on an angle, but I'll just check that with my ruler. That is 2.5 and that is 2.5. So it is actually straight. You can see there where I put it in there, but it just doesn't look like it. So I'm going to start by stacking them to see how many I can get. I'm hoping I can get them all on this page, and I'm going to put the little one in between and have them at different heights. So I could do it like this. I'll show you a couple of ways that you can do this. So just put that in there and then the last one up here. And that way you can have all 6 little pockets lined up like that. Now the other thing you could do, if you don't like that look, is you could take the ones that are all the same size, and in fact look at that, you can even line up the existing papers and still have your pocket in here. So you could take that one. Now I'll find the other one for this. I don't know if I've cut it on the same side or not. This is the other one, I think. It's just slightly not cut in the same place. Yeah, because I've flipped it around, so I haven't got it in the same thing. But anyway, you could possibly not do that then because it'll look weird. But you could take 3 of them and you could put them down on your page like that. Now, if you didn't like that little thing showing through there, you can take another piece of paper of your 7 by 5 and slip that underneath, so you could have all 3 of them down the page like that. Just depends on what look you're going for and how many pockets you want on your page. So you could actually do that. I quite like that. That's quite nice. Now, if you didn't want to use a whole piece of this paper, you could cut it down and you could just use a sliver of it. So you could cut a tiny piece off and you could just use a tiny bit to hide that notch. I'll show you what I mean. I'll put this bit in here. So you could put that down like that and then that on top. And that way it looks like you've got a whole piece of paper underneath it, but you haven't. So that would be something that you could do. I've got the other little bit here that I cut off, and I could also pop that in there and just find some other little scraps like that and put them down the paper so that I didn't have to use a whole piece of the 5x7 or a whole piece of anything really. And again, I could pop this bit in here like that so that you get that whole look like you've got paper underneath it, but you really haven't. But if you like the ones without the paper underneath, then you could do this like this. In fact, I really like how that's matched up. I should have tried to get that matched up so I could have the same piece of paper running all the way up the page. It's just, I don't know where I've put it. I think it's here. You see, I've cut the notch on the wrong end of it. If I had cut that notch on the bottom, on this up here instead, then I could have had my whole piece of original paper running up the thing with the pockets on it. I might try that again and actually think about that next time so that I can have my things lined up, and you can see my notches are out a little bit there. But how cool would that be if you had your pockets but still your original piece of paper running up the page like that? I think that would look very cool. So there's some ideas for you today. I hope you enjoyed those, and I will be back and I might do some more pocket ideas because I quite had fun doing that today. For now, this is Deborah. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.